My 2022 year in Cries. My Cries Wrapped, if you will. Crying is only okay in 2 locations. Funerals in the Grand Canyon. Ron Swanson. I couldn't agree more. Now let's look at the data. Total number of cries? 40. Last year was 3. Dates of all cries. As you can see, I did not cry at all in January or March, and I only cried 6 times in the first half of 2022. Yet in the second half, I cried 34 times, with a real peak in September and October. September 16th and October 8th were big days for me. Big days. What time of day did I cry? So the majority of my cries happened in the morning and then the afternoon, evening, night, which was honestly surprising to me, and I would have thought it would have been inverted, but the numbers don't lie. Cry storm level. So this is how I rated the level of the cry. So the majority of my cries were just like a single tier tropical depression moment, but then we also had a lot of tropical storm cries, and then we had some category 3 hurricanes, but that was the lowest percent, and then a lot of category 5 devastating damage, picture me lying on the floor. And what was the primary reason that I cried? So to nobody's surprise, the primary reason that I cried this year was due to food. And then we have tied for second place was me being overwhelmed and dead brother shit. But notably, this little orange piece was because I ran over a coyote. It was a sad day. Okay, where did I cry? The majority of my cries took place at treatment or therapy, which makes sense because that's where I spent the majority of my year. And then we have the TL house, so also makes sense. And then superlatives. What cries really stood out? So, what songs did I cry to? Number 5, Homesick, Noah Kahan. 4, Your Saddest Great Achievement, Lucy Eaton. 3, Eldest Daughter, Isabel Pless. 2, Funeral, Phoebe Bridgers. And number 1, I cried the most to 20-0 by Austin. It was my number 3 song this year. Okay, series of silly things that made me cry. Silly thing that made me cry number 1 was when my dietitian Rachel asked me how it was Snack, but Snack had been fine. Yep. Silly little thing that made me cry number 2. The group at large was told that we had to stop doing something, but I decided that that was actually directed at me personally. Silly number 3. A therapist told me I couldn't wear my celebrity sunglasses to the table for lunch, and I was really upset about that. Silly number 4. These are my book-related ones. Characters in a book saw her best friend after having been apart for 2 weeks because of winter break, and I thought that was really an emotional moment. It wasn't. Also, I cried not once but twice when 2 characters confessed their love for each other in the books, and one of those books was titled Sleep Banshee, so that was a real low for me. We also have the cry that made Janelle, my therapist, say, "This is why you're going to residential." I had just spent 2 hours crying over a blueberry muffin in her office, so that was probably appropriate. My most embarrassing cries. Number 5, a friend's house, which, this wouldn't have been that embarrassing if it hadn't just been me, my friend, and the guy she'd been hooking up with for the last week, who I'd just met that night. So that was embarrassing. Number 4, the Kroger chip aisle. I was overwhelmed by the options and ended up not getting any of them. Number 3, the Memphis airport gate. So picture this, you're waiting to board your flight to Colorado, and there's a girl crying over a muffin. Yeah. Number 2, the Rhodes College Library. I did not go to Rhodes. I've never gone to Rhodes. I was visiting a girl I knew. Yeah. Okay. And number 1, my final cry of the year, and also my most embarrassing cry, was in the Loon Mountain Lodge. And now you might be wondering, Maggie, why would you be crying in the middle of a very busy ski lodge? That's a great question. I'm not sure. But don't worry, me and the family who I was sharing a table with got a great show out of it. Anyways, here, let's look at some photos. Me crying. More pictures of me crying. Me in the airport, crying. Now, let's talk about the top cry of the year. The cry to end all cries. The big one. September 16th, 2022. The day I cried for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 12. 12 hours straight. Now, something must have happened. Something traumatic must have happened, right? Oh no, I just started that morning, woke up 9 a.m. and was like, guess I'll cry today. And that's all I did that day. As you can see, me drinking Gatorade, trying to hydrate so I could cry some more. Big brain energy, big brain. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I look forward to 2023.